Well, my name now is Charles Houghton, but my army name was Sapper C. Houghton, 1947832. And I was born in London, but grew up in the West Country, which was Bristol. And from Bristol, I went to be, well, what do you call it? To join the army. I didn't join it, I was called up actually, so until that I went up to Gloucester, which is Gloucestershire, and Bristol was part of Gloucestershire. And that would be 1940. So that's a long, long time ago. At that time, the German bombers were coming over to England and bombing England into us to surrender. They'd already taken nearly all of Europe, and now they wanted to take England. So they started bombing England, which we called the Blitz. I was in London and helping to get the dead out, the injured out. Being in the Royal Engineers, we had the job of, and I was also a builder at the time, we had the job of trying to get people back into their houses by makeshift windows, makeshift doors and things like that, as long as they could get back in under cover. They was defined and determined to win. Sometimes when it got too hot, what I say by hot, I mean by the bombs being dropped. And the bombers used to come in day and night. Day bombers, night bombers. And it would be going on for months, not just a little few weeks or anything like that. It'd go on for weeks, dropping the bombs here and there. Liverpool, Coventry, Birmingham, Manchester, London mostly, Bristol, all them cities. I might have missed out with some, but lots of cities was bombed in them days, so what they call the Blitz. Then after the Blitz, we settled down. Of course, after the Blitz, as I'm saying, our Air Force had taken command of the air. So we was free from any more bombers coming in. So after the Blitz, we all said the Army and the Navy and the Air Force all settled down for training. And you know what the training was? The training was to invade Europe. And that's what we were settling down to do. We used to go to Bristol, we used to go to Wales, we used to go to even London to do training there, training everywhere. Doesn't matter what it was. And being in the Royal Engineers, you done everything and anything. There was nothing that we couldn't do. Well, long before Normandy, we knew the generals and Eisenhower and all that had got together in different places to work out where we are going to go to invade Europe. So they worked it out, it was going to be Normandy. But different stories were sent to the Germans. Oh, we're going to go into Norway. Oh, we're going to go in the Pas de Calais, or Calais, which is Calais is the shortest way over from France to England. So the Germans thought that was the place. The nearest one was only 21 miles. But the generals in there thinking, said no, we'll go round 100 miles and we'll land on the Normandy beaches. And that's how Normandy come into as part of the strategy of being, the Europe being invaded by us, by the British, the Canadians, the Poles, all the smaller countries that had escaped. The Germans had come into England and then they formed their own armies, and now they come over with us for the invasion. It's very hard to explain, but I was on the ship for 3 days, which a lot more troops had to be. You just can't do 500,000 troops to go in one go. We was actually on the ship for 3 days, playing cards, doing boat drill, all that sort of thing to keep our time occupied until the time came and they said, right, you're going. All during them 3 days we were putting drill packs on and everything, thinking we was going to go, until this one particular time, June the 5th, 44, well, I think that's the date, isn't it? And they said, right, get all your battle packs on, you're going. We started in the evening light or the night, and we travelled all through the night to get to Normandy. That's 100 miles by ship. We've got all our gear on the ship. If you name it, and we'll tell you that was what was on the ship. We carried bulldozers, we carried explosives, we carried barbed wire, we carried mine detectors. All that had to be got in onto the beach. Our own petrol, our own ammunition, all that. We landed on the beach, or before we landed on the beach, we got there by dawn, and you might as well say all hell was breaking loose. It started before we got there. That was to keep the Germans bottled up, really, that's what it was, while we are coming in off the ships and landing craft and all that, see. Actually, we had to get into the water first. I was in the water up to my neck. Other chap, taller than me, was up to their waist. And we waded ashore, but as we waded ashore, we each took what we call a jerry can of petrol. You've got to realise when we come in on the raft from our main ship, which is 3 miles out, and we come in on the raft, we was a floating bomb coming in onto the beach and we took everything from the raft, petrol, ammunition, and ourselves. I was loaded with I had 80 rounds around my waist. I had 4 magazines, or for the Bren guns. Each man carried them, because don't forget, where you're going to go to get all your material. You're not going back to England, you're going to carry it in on land, see? And we took everything onto high water mark. And when we'd finished getting everything off the raft, the sergeant, the officer said, right lads, go for it. And we had to make for a certain point, which was put up a big number, and 724 was my number, our number, which is our company's then, and we could see it, so done very big, very large. It was stuck in the sand at high water mark, and that's where we're going to make for. But don't forget, all behind that high water mark is the German fortifications, which they called the Atlantic Wall. Huge big guns, machine guns in the little slots below the guns. But the Navy and the Air Force was doing its job, keeping them silent while we are on the beach and getting off the beach. And don't forget, our dozers had already landed, as bulldozers I'm talking about, had already loaded, and I was a bulldozer driver, and as soon as they come in, we'd already timed it that the motor was going to run, and didn't take long to start. And we made big emplacements off at the high water mark, with about 3 foot, 4 foot sometimes, high wall, you know, to stop the water from going in, of course. And we had to break all them open for the rest of the troops that was coming behind us. Infantry, artillery, tanks, all got to get onto the beach. And we've broken open the, well, call it the seawall. Broke them open, of course. We all got in. My first thing was to get beyond the houses, and we landed in an orchard in the back of the houses.